Hello, this is Will McNeil with Black Tech Jobs, and welcome to CoffeeTech Opportunity. Today, we're speaking with Kevin Davenport, the CEO and founder of the Ideal Candidate, and we're talking about what he's doing in the community, helping young people in the early area of their career, and what he's doing with training. Also, his book, and how that's helping people, both individuals and organizations. And we're also going to talk about the partnership between the Ideal Candidate and Black Tech Jobs. So as many of you know, at Black Tech Jobs, we wake up every day believing that we can that we can change the world by changing the mix of people that drive business and technology. And at our core, we connect the Black tech community to the broader business and technology communities. We are that shows up in three ways across our company. One, through the job board at blacktechjobs.com. Second, in our retained search service. And third, across our diversity practice, where we help companies, large and small, wherever they may be in their diversity journey. So what I'd like to do is bring on our guest, Mr. Kevin Davenport. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you for having me.
Kevin Davenport, the CEO of the Ideal Candidate. I'd love to just jump right into it. We're talking today about a combination of things. The team at Black Tech Jobs, we're hosting an event on February 22nd at 6 p.m. Central. It's a virtual event where we're connecting companies to job seekers or really career growth minded folks, because the majority of the people that we serve already have a job. The question is, are you able to bring your whole self to work? Is your career elevating? And are you in an environment where you're challenged and you're presented with opportunities to grow? And that's where we hope to fill in the blank for those folks who are mid-career to senior level Black tech professionals. But the partnership with us is that Kevin's organization works with folks in the early parts of their career. And we believe that that's important. So we wanted to bring an expert in that category to talk a bit about what he's doing, what some of the challenges are. And for any of you who are listening, if you want to get involved, if you want to donate, if you want to acquire one of the books, whether you're an individual or you're a not-for-profit organization, we highly recommend, there it is. We highly recommend that you do it. But I don't want to steal the show. The goal here is really to talk to Kevin. Kevin, if someone said, "What's the ideal candidate?" What's the right answer for that?
Yeah, the ideal candidate, in a nutshell, is just someone that fits the company culture and that's going to bring value to that company. It's just that simple. And there's so many wide ranges of skill sets that would be needed per that job, but at the core of it, you have to fit that company culture and you have to provide value to that company you're stepping into. So that's just if you can check off those two boxes, you're in a good position.
Now, Kevin, you and your team, you meet people who are trying to build skills for their career. What's the training like? What do you do? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we go over a wider range of, self-sufficiency, mindset training, soft skill development. And so, we go over everything from where do you see yourself in the future? So we can start to see, where their career trajectory is going to be. We go over things like interpersonal communication, nonverbal communication, dressing for success, even things like, email and phone etiquette to understand, how to present themselves in the best way in all forms of communication, even things like social media etiquette. We know that employees are a reflection of the company that they work for. We're seeing, especially with this new group, 16 to 24, they're making some mistakes on social media that, older generations weren't making. And so, that's something that's unique to that generation, but it's because they're a reflection of that company culture. And then finally, we close off that, training with corporate integration skills. How do I interview appropriately? We also connect them with diversity subject matter experts so they can connect, understand their personal stories, and get that real life advice from them. And that seems to be the best, training that we've provided for them so far.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, and the ideal candidate just isn't an organization or an entity. There's also the book that you talked about. Tell me why a book, and what are you hoping that people will take away from the book?
Yeah, so the book actually has a very interesting origin. I'll do some self disclosure here, be a little vulnerable in this moment. But I was born with ADD and dyslexia, so I was a man that grew up that definitely didn't believe that he was going to be an author, much less I didn't really read that often, and so I never really saw myself as an author. And I just always had a passion for giving back. So my first initial thought was like, well, I can never write a book. Let me put this in a mobile app. I'm a millennial. So my first idea was like, let's put it in an app. So, I developed this minimal viable product. I did the whole venture capital and, investor campaign. And I thought I had this investor, and he ended up being a fraud. It wasn't his real name, anyway. So
Wow.
within a really short time, I had lost this opportunity, I felt like, and I just kind of prayed on it and prayed on it. And the vision I got was like, Kevin, put all this content into a book. And that's really where I got the idea from. And I took about like 3.5 months and just put everything that I possibly could into this book. And here it is. So, it's been a blessing for me actually having that struggle. And I'm actually excited, just a little plug. We're coming out with our first e-learning platform in about 30 days now. So
Wow.
what ended up as a struggle, a few years ago is finally here. And, we actually have a book as a result, and now an app too. So God works in mysterious ways.
So tell us about the app. What's the app going to allow you to do, or the people who is it going to allow you to serve that you aren't able to serve today via the book or via your in-person training sessions or virtual training sessions in a COVID environment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's really just been the same group that we've always been teaching, that 16 to 24. They're looking for that workplace integration training. They need some of that financial literacy training, and just that interpersonal, communication training. And the biggest issue for us has always been capacity. We've done everything in person. And so, just having the teachers to come out has always been an issue. So that's why we've taken a step this year to, invest into that online platform. So now, we partner with Chicago Public Schools and, Evanston Park Recreations and Aurora Park Recreations and, a number of other nonprofits here in Chicago. But now we're not limited to Chicago. So, we're really excited to, expand. We've had interest from even, some of our surrounding states. But, this will help us to go nationwide very quickly, and even, hopefully international. We've also did a heavy investment to translate the entire curriculum into Spanish. And so once the English beta version of the app is set up, the Spanish edition, is next, and we hope to have that up by this May. So we're just really excited about the trajectory, being able to scale.
That's awesome. We are in such interesting times, when young people don't have jobs, they very often, especially in our communities, find themselves getting into trouble either because they're idle and/or they're mixing with people who might be doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And so these are critical times because there's only a handful of jobs for young people available in the market where there are so many people who are out of work today. Can you talk about your thoughts about why this is important right now? Just 2020, 2021, these are pivotal times where young people are making decisions that have a big impact on the rest of their life.
Absolutely. I don't even think it's just my advice. I mean, look at some of the experts. CEO of LinkedIn, he said himself, more than coding, the biggest skill that, job seekers look for now is soft skills. So that interpersonal, being able to sell your company, you are always in sales mode, whether it just be, answering the call for it. You might not be directly in sales, but you are representing the company, and that directs in the sales and the evolution and the, sustainability of that company. And so I just really think that's the biggest concept is, having that hard skill to actually, execute on what the job entails, but having the soft skills to, be a team player, connect with other clients, the whole thing. It does not work without soft skills and having that, communication ability. It doesn't work.
Gotcha. And if you're just joining us, thank you again for supporting us here at Black Tech Jobs as we engage in a conversation over coffee, tech, and opportunity. And the opportunities we're talking about today are a little different than the ones that we historically talk about, which are mid-career and senior level. but we're talking about the entry-level opportunities. And the reason why we continue to make big bets in the middle and senior is we do believe that if we get enough people who are excelling at a high level, that they can invest in people who are in the early stages of their career. And there's a multiplicity effect that comes with that. And I think our conversation today with Kevin and I is a great example of that. It's two people who work in different segments, but one another supporting each other. And so again, if you just joined us and you're trying to figure out, what's a connection here, Kevin and I are going to be working together. We have an event coming up February 25th. It is Career Building 2021 Power Networking. And I want to shift the gear a little bit and talk about the importance of networks and relationships. It's something that's important in the early part of your career. It's critical in the middle of your career. And I can promise you, if you're pursuing a C-suite role, if you aren't connected to decision makers at multiple levels across different segments of that business that you want to land in, you have almost no chance. And so join us again on February. And what we're doing is we rarely have a virtual event where we charge a fee. This time we are. And we're not charging a fee to make money. We're going to take all the money from the proceeds of that. We're going to donate that to Kevin Davenport's organization, the Ideal Candidate. And we want not only to do that, because we're convinced that his program and his platform is so impactful for young people, that we're also going to buy books. And we're going to ship the books to any nonprofit that shows up and says, hey, we want to get one too. We want to deploy some of these tactics to help our young people build soft skills. And if you are so inclined and you're one of those philanthropic organizations that actually have the budget to invest in another philanthropic organization, we invite you to buy books too and share them across your networks. So, and there it is. Thank you, Kevin, the Ideal Candidate. I want to go back to my original thought and ask you the question about networking as we're talking about Career Building 2021 and our Power Networking event. How has networking impacted you personally and professionally?
Absolutely. It's almost, I want to say, everything outside of my work ethic. It's opened up so many doors for me. I would say the last 4 roles I've had in the career space, right now I work also at the Chicago Urban League and the Entrepreneurship Center to give back. And, I got that position through a friend, through networking. Same thing with how we met, Will. It was through networking. We both donated our time to sit on a panel for, 100 Black Men in Chicago's program. And we were both on the panel and both heard what each other had to say on the panel. We were like, okay, we need to connect after this. And, it just kind of grown and the relationship grew organically from that point. But it all happened from us, donating our time and, strategically networking and putting ourselves in those rooms in position to meet these type of people. So I think it's extremely, extremely important. And, it's just always good to have more resources under your belt than to not have them. And if I can give any networking tip, look for ways immediately where you can provide value for that person that doesn't cost you too much. So things like an introduction could make the biggest difference for that person, but it would, cost you virtually anything. And so, constantly looking for ways. I'm like, oh, well, I know this resource, or, I have this introduction for you, or these couple of introductions for you. That makes people remember who you are. You immediately provide value for their life. And that typically tends to be reciprocal and come back at a later point to, to impact you personally in a positive way. So definitely need to network and, think about how you can provide value and understand your value during the networking process too.
I completely concur. In fact, it's kind of humorous. If I go back almost, it's actually a year to this day, humorously, that we did Career Building 2020. And your business partner, your co-founder, and in the digital part of your business, you all met at Career Building 2020. And here we are a year later. You're about to release what I think is going to be some dynamite technology. Is going to provide great solutions for a large audience of people. I think it's a game changer in the way that philanthropy touches people, especially young people who today are so connected and ingrained in technology, in the way that they're learning and developing new skills and access to information and how they're acquiring information. When I'll tell you, I'm a huge advocate of networking. And people think it's just like this cliche thing. And it's really, I would really more focus it on relationship building. And I totally agree with your assessment of find a way to give first. So in our corporate culture, we try to lead with help. And when we lead with help, meaning we give help first with no intention of anything in return. And in my experience, if you do that enough, it'll come back to you in many, 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 many ways. And we recently, and I think you and I were sharing this, we recently brought on a new director of operations who's an absolute dynamo. And one of her first questions as she joined the company, well, let's walk through your marketing strategy and how you generate leads. And I was outlining kind of our top 10 big rock projects. And I said, that's not on our top 10 list. And she was like, how can that be? Right? Like how long you guys are still in a pseudo startup mode, right? You've been around just under 4 years. And I said, yeah, that's true. But our relationships have been critical to our success and our ability to service our clients and service our community. If we didn't have relationships on the corporate side, we couldn't help people find six-figure jobs. If we didn't have relationships in the community, we couldn't find people who could fill those jobs and execute at a high level. And so when I look at what 2021 brings, I think it's a unique opportunity to come out of 2020. If you haven't walked away with new lessons, new ideas that you leverage this time that we're still stuck in COVID to really identify where you want to be and who you want to do whatever you want to do with. And I'll give you a real example. Yesterday, a guy reached out to me maybe sometime last year. It's probably a year ago. And he basically said, well, I have all these people I'm connected to on LinkedIn and a lot of them I didn't know. And I just wanted for us to have a conversation. And so I said yes. And so in our conversation, I discovered that he was looking for a job. He was a former director of engineering at an amazing tech company. And he found himself out of work and out of position. And so we started talking about the modern job search and what was required. And I gave him some real leads of companies that I thought that would be great places for him to target. And, once he found an opportunity to come back and, they're not a client of mine, but I'll introduce you. I'm connected to the president of the company. And so a part of this is just giving away for free. And so if I give the president of this company, this amazingly talented director of engineer, and we charge no fee for it, it's a relationship thing. And then on the other side, a guy who doesn't look like me because we primarily work with people who are Black in technology. And so, but at some point, he's going to be a hiring manager and he may look to drive diversity. And so if nothing ever comes from it, it's okay. But if it does, then I know that giving matters. And it isn't about receiving. I think the more you give, the more you get. And for people who are in the early parts of their career, so if they're younger people and younger than me, if you're someone who's asking yourself the question, well, how do I add value, right? I don't have a huge network. It's amazing who you know and what you know. And we joke about our relationship, Kevin. I always tell people I'm going to introduce, and I failed to do it today. So for those of you who are watching, Kevin Davenport's my mentor. And so I got to it first. So it's an ongoing thing, inside thing between he and I. But Kevin has been able to teach me a lot of things that I didn't know, things I learned about social media and how to really engage at a high level and its importance. And I had struggled with that because I wasn't a guy who felt like he needed to share what he had for dinner on Facebook, right? And so my Facebook friends probably, I don't have a lot of great things to say, and I don't say very much very often. But I would tell you that, having a relationship with someone where you invert the mentor-mentee relationship, regardless of the age and experience difference, there's an opportunity to help, teach, and learn. And I've discovered that I'm doing it with my mentor. He calls me and asks me my opinion. And I'm looking, sometimes I would look in the mirror and it's like, why are you asking me? Like, this guy has done amazing things in business and continues to do it. And then I'm discovering that because of the differences in our experience, the differences in our age, that there are things that he doesn't know on his own that I can accelerate his learning and point him in the right direction. And he always does that for me. And so it gives me great pleasure to be able to help and support him. And so for those folks who are asking themselves, why is networking important? I want to shift back a little bit to what Career Building 2021 is about. We're inviting 10 companies, and we're going to have 100 Black tech professionals, only 100 people. And we're going to create 1,000 career conversations. So we're going to have 10 5-minute speed networking rounds, and we're going to teach people how to maximize those 5 minutes. And we want you to get connected to the person that you're talking to beyond this 5-minute conversation, and to look beyond if you're actively looking for a job or not, but to connect with them and see how you can help them. So if you're talking to an engineering manager, can you help him solve or her solve a technical problem? If you're talking to a recruiter, can you, and the job isn't right for you, can you connect them to someone who might be actively looking? And conversely, we're telling the recruiters and the engineering managers to do the same, because those personal relationships that are also business relationships accelerate outcomes faster. And I can tell you, my friends who do that well never look for a job. I'll say that again. My friends who do that well never look for a job. What they do is they alert their network that they're in the market, and their network does the work for them and starts making introductions. And if you do not have that in your professional life right now, you absolutely need to be at Career Building 2021. So, Kevin, I want to go back to you and the ideal candidate and this new digital application that you've put together. Tell us about what the app is going to do, how it's going to work, and who do you hope to serve?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the same demographic that we work with, some nonprofit organizations, restorative justice, returning citizen, anyone really in the education space, and even in like the training space, workplace training space. We're seeing a need for this, and the app is meant and designed for your clients or your students, whoever is engaging into the app, for them to learn this on their own time. Right. So there's a way for you to log in on the back end as the, client, and then see what is their tracking, what is their progress, how they moved along. And it's meant to take them through the entire course that we typically do in person online. So everything from the mindset training and the goal setting to, financial literacy, all the soft skill development, self-sufficiency development and modules on there will be the same flow and process. And then we test you, many quizzes throughout. And so we make sure that you can, pass that module just like we would in the class setting. And then at the end, we do one final test, make sure that you, have retained this information. And then we populate a learning certificate for you. And this should help to, certify that you've taken these skill set and give you, an asset to go and add to your resume. And, in your interviewing, I've taken this soft skill certification. I have proof that, I've taken this and I have this skill set. And, that was really the vision when I was, starting even the program and starting, now with this e-learning platform, is like students need an edge, to go into some of these interviews. And so how can they stand out? And we want to make sure that, we can take away some of the fear that the client might have, that they might not come in as well polished, and, instead replace that with some confidence that they absolutely do have that. And we can now hire for talent and train skill. So.
Awesome. And I will tell you that when people talk about culture and the common conversation about culture fit, it is really that soft skill component, de-escalating conflict, managing relationships with your coworkers, appropriate behavior, including appropriate dress, especially in technology. We've gotten so casual. And even those of us who are working at home. So, historically, you could almost never catch me out unless I was grocery shopping at night without a blazer on. And so it just doesn't sit well in my chair at home. So, but the world has changed. The world has evolved. And so there are these etiquette nuances that your personal life or your family life in the early parts of your career, when you come from communities where I came from, you may not learn those things at home. You may, if you have a mom or dad who's a blue collar professional, and the etiquette rules and modes of operation look different. Yeah, from a factory floor, or if you're a truck driver, the things that you can and can't say and can and shouldn't do, you probably shouldn't do it there either. But in some places, some things are allowed that aren't. And so I think those are important learned behaviors. And for those folks who work with young people and invest with children, and I can say children, but young adults, this is an important investment in their careers and in their career outcomes. Before we go, I'm gonna put this here. There were a few people who were on, and give them a chance if they they want to ask a question of you. We hadn't planned on having a lot of folks, because we really planned to share this out afterward, but there are a few folks who joined us live, and I want to thank them. But if you do have questions, feel free to chat, send us a chat, and we'll absolutely have Kevin respond to you. But Kevin, before we wrap, is there what would you like people to know about the ideal candidate? And if there was a call to action for anyone who might see this, what would that call to action be?
Yeah, we're always looking for, donations. So, if you can help, that dramatically helps us to increase our capacity. But more than anything, I would say what would accelerate capacity more is the, working with that e-learning platform. So if anyone is looking to utilize those services, for your own value, those dollars will help to support the nonprofit. So that would help us out a lot. And then especially if you're looking to hire, that's probably the biggest way you can support our ideal candidates. If you're looking for a diversity inclusion pipeline, or, you have the capacity to bring on, entry-level intern or anything like that, please connect with me. We'd be happy to send. We have people for you right now. So they're ready, they're polished, they're hungry. And, we can guarantee that, we play someone that is going to fit your company culture. And, also, since, we're talking this transparently, we do have some metrics set in place just to safe cover the corporation that want to work with us. So, sometimes it is the account that a candidate doesn't work out. We do replace that candidate for free after the first 30 days. So things like that. And then we follow that relationship for a year after placement as well, just to make sure everything is going good for our ideal candidates and on the corporate, client side. So, we just do our best to be, a community advocate and just, be this kind of bridge for, our ideal candidates to enter the workplace. So that's what we do. That's what we're passionate about. And, like I said, donations, the e-learning platform, and if you can hire our students, that would be the 3 ways that you can most certainly help. And I guess purchasing the book too. So
there you go.
Many ways to support and mentor. Will, thank you so much, for this opportunity. I just have to say, at least before the questions come in, thank you so much again. I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah, I would tell you, Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join us today on CoffeeTech and Opportunity. There are just so many people doing great work in our communities. The ideal candidate is an exceptional way to get involved with looking forward at 2021 and how you might invest your time, treasure, resources, or share opportunities. And if for some reason you are unable to find Kevin, feel free to connect with me across social media. So if we are connected on LinkedIn, on Facebook, or you found us on YouTube, please send us a note, and I'm happy to make that one-to-one connection. And if you're watching this for the first time and you're seeing it 1 week, 2 weeks, 6 months later, I'm still happy to make that connection for you as well. Thank you again to our guest, Kevin Davenport. This has been CoffeeTech and Opportunity. You've been here with your friends at Black Tech Jobs, and we're looking forward to seeing you at Career Building 2021, Power Networking, and hopefully a year from now, maybe you could join us on the show, and we'll be telling your story about how your networking experience created an opportunity for you. Thank you again. Keep the faith.